What's up, everybody? This is the Healing Kings podcast, and I'm your host, Drew Cost. And today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm reading from this deck I got from my man, Demetrius. It's called Pod Decks Interviews. You can see it right here if you're watching the video, if you're hearing me. You can't see it. Pod Deck Interviews. And what the deck does is give you a bunch of questions to ask on your show. So I'm going to do one today. This one is, what book belongs on everyone's bookshelf? Okay, I got a list. I'm gonna always say the Bible, but that's a given. So I'm not gonna go deep into that, but that's a given. The first book I would say belongs on everybody's bookshelf would be Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. That's by Stephen Covey. When I say this book did a number for me, I actually want to go back and read this book because I read this book about maybe over 10 years ago. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, RIP Stephen Covey. And the book, he breaks down the book into 7 habits that will help people. And the one that always sticks out to me is two of them that sticks out to me the most. One of them talks about sharpening the saw, not just working on yourself, but working on yourself in a way where it's intentional. And he uses the quote from Abraham Lincoln. If you gave me a day to chop down the tree, I would spend 23 hours sharpening the saw. The sharper the saw is, the mind, the person, the less work you have to do exerting energy where you don't need it. And you got to read the book on that part. It's so amazing. I can tell you it helps me a lot when making decisions where if I can just get this part better or do this more intentionally, the outcome is going to be greater. So spend some time doing that. It's okay to spend time preparing to go and take action. But the habit that helped me out so greatly and helps me out today is, I think it's habit number 6. Seek to understand than to be understood. So he talks about when you talk with people, go into it with the mindset that you want to understand them. You're not trying to get your point across. You're not trying to conjure up an answer. You just want to go to them and try to understand them. And when someone feels understood, they usually reciprocate that. They usually want to now understand you. One of the communication barriers that I believe happens all the time is we're always wanting to be heard, but we don't want to hear. We're always wanting to talk about what we feel only and not realize there's somebody else on that other side. If we can both work towards, and friendships and intimate relationships and parenting, if we can work to understand the person first, then we can be understood. There's been times where I felt like Aaliyah was going just nuts, my little 4-year-old. And when I stopped and realized what she is feeling like or dealing with, it's not really what she's saying. There's something else happening. When I start to understand that, anything I usually tell her to do after that, she'll do it. If you're a parent, you kind of know that that's a tough one though. That's not as easy. So, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People would be the first book I say you did on your bookshelf. The second book I would say is The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. This book is a 40-day devotional. Man, Rick Warren has opened my eyes up to so much about God, about life, about purpose, about being unique, about the many talents and gifts we may have that don't seem common at first. He broke this down greatly. One of the things he talks about is how we please God. And oftentimes, I always thought we only please God by doing church or spiritual things. And he talks about you can be pleasing God in your regular life, doing regular things. That's perfectly fine. And it's a way that you do please God. It changed me. So if you can get that, they usually have that book everywhere. The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. He also did something with that book where he had people go study together at different homes. They were called small study groups or cell groups. And we did it one time in my former church where we would get some groups together and we would discuss it together as a church. And then when we saw each other on Sunday, it felt like we had a tighter knit family. So Rick Warren, man, amazing job with that. The book, I'm trying to look and see if I have it behind me. One of the another books, I have it somewhere behind me, would be TD Jakes, Disruptive Thinking. Man, disruptive thinking, disruptive patterns. I'll give you one line that he gives that I use all the time. There's usually an invisible fence in front of somebody, and that's why they're not accomplishing what they want to accomplish. And that invisible fence usually is a belief system. With that fence, it's hard for somebody to actually climb over that fence. And sometimes it's hard for them to climb over that fence because they don't know how to live on the other side of that fence. Now, if you know me, TD Jakes is probably one of my favorite preachers forever. And he's one of my favorite authors forever. That book, Disruptive Thinking, it came out about maybe late or maybe early 2023. But man, marvelous book, marvelous book. Another book that I would say for like sales and leadership and things like that, 100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy. Man, this guy breaks down how to create an irresistible offer for your consumer that they will feel stupid saying no to. And he breaks it down. I'm not going to go deep into that because I can go down a rabbit hole with that. Another book, Boss Moves by Myron Golden. If you're a businessman, this is something you want to pick up about how to structure your business, how to make it flow easier, how to get out of the rat race of doing all the work to having someone do the work, which brings me into another book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. This was a bad card because I can go on forever. Michael Gerber talks about being a technician, meaning you're the person that does all the work. Being a manager, meaning you're the person who manages the person who does all the work. So you're a little bit removed, but you're still in the same boat. And then the other person is the entrepreneur, the person who can run the actual business. Deep Work by Cal Newport is, man, this book. I remember getting this book in the Barnes & Noble bookstore. And he talks about how people who spend time just focusing a little bit deeper on certain subjects and certain things and going off the grid. He's big for not really using social media too. There's some differences with that, but he has a lot of nuggets in that one about focusing, about carving out time. He's definitely helped me realize something I added or got better at was when I'm working, use a timer versus my phone, put every distraction completely away from you and just go at it. A smaller book by, he's actually one of my, I actually love reading his books a lot. Kenneth Blanchard has a book called, he has a couple books that I read, Who Moved My Cheese, The Woman and Manager, Well Done. All of his books talk about how a manager sees his employees or how a leader sees his team, how to do it. The Who Moved My Cheese talks about pivoting, and it talks about how to start pivoting before you actually have to. Watch where the puck is going, not where the puck has been. And the books are really, really short, so they're good. They're good to read. Anything that you're seeing behind me, I would recommend. But there was one that was coming to my mind that I don't have up there. I think it's the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim, Relentless by Tim Grover. That's a really good one. Tim Grover is definitely cutting edge. So if you can't take Hard Discipline, those are not books you want to read. The H3 Leadership was a good book. Tim Ferriss, I would say, the 4 Hour Work Week teaches about delegation, automation, of going off the grid a little bit. condensing work so that it makes sense, it makes better, trimming the fat, cutting out things that you don't need. All of those books, guys, I would go get them. So yeah, on that list, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Purpose Driven Life, Well Done, Who Moved My Cheese, The 1 Minute Manager, Disruptive Thinking, Deep Work by Cal Newport, Relentless by Tim Grover, The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, Boss Moves by Myron Golden, The 100 Million Offer by Alex Hormozy, and I'm pretty sure I got a whole lot more. But check those books out; they're good. Get any of them, audio book, regular book, just go get them. As always, guys, go be great.